They're still home. The throw is there, and he is out at the plate. South Carolina rolled the dice, but Blake Jackson out. Griffin Herring didn't panic. We're still tied.
I don't think this was called. Joey Holcomb certainly was caught off guard. Blake Jackson tries to take the base. Griffin Herring gets it there in plenty of time. And the Gamecocks get caught trying to steal one. Wow.
Put them hands together. We clapping.
The 20.
But you
Out of the box.
well, there's a lot.
Every moment is a moment for greatness.
The United Football League, all season long on ESPN, ABC, and ESPN+.
Box, and he has to be completely out of the box.
Well, there's a lot of drama going on right
release.
now with this umpiring crew discussing whether or not that was balk and interference on the between the battery for LSU. This is not something you see every day. First, the attempt to steal home, but you want to pay attention to whether or not the catcher Brady Neal was out of the catcher's box, and if so, it would be interference and a balk, and the run would score.
It's at the time of release is when you have to determine exactly where he is. He's definitely moving towards home plate. If you're making contact with home plate, oh man, you can't challenge it. We've already established that, right? So it's not a play that can be challenged. Now it's just a discussion of the umpires to decide what they think.
Uh-oh.
And they're going to come explain it to Jay Johnson.
Well, if they're going that way, they're counting the run.
I'm about to say. Pretty impressive by Herring and Neal. Neal peeked and saw it. Herring sped up and threw a perfect strike. The question is, was the execution outside the rule on how he can receive that ball?
They're counting it. You can tell by the reaction. They're counting it.
And Jay just got run. Here's the rule as it's written in the book. If on an attempted squeeze play or steal of home plate, the catcher steps on or in front of home plate without possession,
it's the right call.
the pitcher shall be charged with a balk and the catcher shall be called interference. It is not,
It's not
according
at
to the
release.
rule book, it's not at release.
release. It's before he catches it. So now you got to see exactly where the foot is.
So you can't be on or in front of.
Either.
You can't be.
No, you can't be either. You cannot be either
He'd had
before
to-
you catch it.
So you'd had to stay behind the plate and make the tag from there.
No, once you receive it, you're fine.
That's what I'm saying. You
It's
got to
where
catch
you
it.
catch
I'm
it.
saying he would have had to
The
stay
way that
behind.
You can
That's
still
the way it
still be to the side
Correct.
with 1 foot outside of the batter's box. You could go up the first base line. You could go up the third base line if you're still, but you can't be over the plate or in front of the plate.
That's a long way to move in a very short period of time as the ball's getting to home plate.
Once
So-
you catch it, you're fine. You can do whatever you want.
So like right here, you're telling me he has to stay back and then come up and make the tag.
I mean, you heard the way it's written, okay? Now maybe it needs to be.
But it's
rewritten.
also the step. It's illegal if he steps on or in front of the plate. I don't see him having stepped on or in front of the plate in that scenario. Do you?
Watch where the right foot ends up before
He's not on
catches
it, and he's to the back side of it.
He is not on it or in front of it.
And is in front towards the pitcher side, or
Yes,
is it
in
towards
front-
the third
yes,
base
front
back
would be
side? So he's
in
neither.
fair territory towards the
Yeah,
pitcher.
just call it fair territory.
Okay.
'Cause then you're in front of it.
So then technically he was neither there.
If there was ever a play that
Needed
you
to
should be
reviewed.
able to review that you can't challenge, this is it.
Now Nate Yeske is looking for an explanation.
Yeah, because he's he's now running the ship. I
So
think.
you would say by the letter of that, should have been a legal catch. And
Yes, that is not
Correct.
interference because he was not on the plate.
after or in front of it.
Or in
If
front
we're
of
looking
it.
at it again. What's the number, Hart, for the rule?
Rule 8, you go down to P. Rule 8 is base running.
This is why I bring this.
Now the pitching coach, Nate Yeske, out there trying to get an explanation. But, yeah,
I think part of the frustration from the LSU side is not just the fact that, from our perspective, the call was wrong, but it's not challengeable. Yet the 4 umpires got together and then ruled on it after about 2 minutes. She is certainly not happy. And we saw it a couple of nights ago, but I don't think I've seen that in years.
No, I don't know that I had ever seen it called.
Well, number one, how rarely is someone stealing home?
Right.
does
Well, it shouldn't even be a pitch. If you're going to call it a balk, there's no pitch.
yeah, so how is Nolan on first base?
Well, that's the part I don't know here, because I mean the way that it's written, you're charged with a balk. If it's a balk, it's not a pitch.
So Herring will get some time to warm up. I'm with you. He should not be at first base.
Right. Well, so
I want to reread this rule, okay? Because for most of the people watching, including us, this is something I've never seen. All right. If on an attempted squeeze play or steal a home plate, the catcher steps on or in front of home plate without possession of the ball or touches the batter or the bat, the pitcher shall be charged with a balk and the catcher with interference.
All right, we got Paul Gillier. Paul, let me just ask you a couple of questions here. Number one, did you see him step on or in front of home plate?
I'm not going into the judgment of the play.
Okay, let me ask you a separate question. Should he be at first base after
Yes,
this?
yes.
And why so? If it were a balk
Keep-
first and a dead ball.
Keep going where Kyle was reading. You got to go to the penalty. The ball is dead. The batter shall be
Should be awarded
with
first base. I got you.
Okay. So
But we've got the right rule, correct?
That's correct. So you have a balk and interference.
Okay. Batter should be awarded first base on interference. Run scores. All other runners advance one base.
Correct.
Sorry,
Is there anything
Paul,
we're
it was-
missing?
No.
Okay.
It was only in bold letters where it said penalty when I stopped reading.
Hooked
I don't
on
know why
phonics
you'd
is
keep
really-
reading that.
No, Kyle was doing well. He just didn't go to the very next line.
That's
all.
kind of the way my life is.
No, it's
Paul.
okay.
I do okay for a while,
It's,
and then
it's okay. I wanted to let everything play out before we jumped into this.
No, I appreciate
Obviously,
it.
becomes a judgment play, and it's just not one of the reviewable plays at this time.
if you can't answer this, that's fine. Given the fact that we've seen this twice in 2 days, and I don't remember seeing this in the last 20 years,
Right.
isn't it something that should be reviewable? Because it's one of the very things that when you look at it, at least you can tell whether the rule's very direct.
Correct.
But it's also in real time, which makes it tough to determine whether or not he's on the plate or not.
Correct. Again, that would be something. Again, we've emulated Major League Baseball in the plays that are reviewable as you go down through the years. We've tried to do that, obviously, for a fan experience, try to keep it consistent.
Yeah.
That's not one of the rules. Obviously, it can go before the Rules Committee and be added. We are in the rules cycle for 25 and 26. So that's obviously something that could be put in front of the Rules Committee to be voted on.
normally we don't hear from the umpires unless there's a review. But is this one of those situations where they can communicate to the House, so to speak, what the ruling was? And because obviously this is a very complicated play.
Well, I mean,
Do they have the freedom to do that?
No, they do not. It's only on when something goes to review. I mean, we could possibly get something across in just a second. I'm trying to figure out why we're continuing the conversation.
That was going to be my next question. We'll let you get back to work. You got a lot on your plate.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
Paul.
much. Okay.
It has turned into quite the delay. Jay Johnson has been ejected from the game. South Carolina has a one-run lead. And South Carolina is still at the plate in the 10th. And for Blake Jackson, boy, you just got let off the hook.
Yeah, you certainly did.
A steal of home to take the lead.
Yeah, brilliant. Did the right thing.
And it seems that LSU has issued a formal protest, which is the signal that Derek Malika just gave the press box. So that will take further explanation. And at that point, if the protest is upheld, you would go back to this point in the game and take the run off the board for South Carolina. And by the way, we've got another game to follow, then the championship tomorrow. So,
You ever seen that one, Christopher?
Nope, but I had a 45-minute review earlier. You guys
did.
missed
You
it.
did. But
yeah.
just a point about protests, and you guys can help me out on this situation. But if it's a missed call, it's not protestable. It is if something is misapplied, if a rule is misapplied. So we feel like, I don't want to speak for everybody, that was a bad interpretation of the rule, but a missed call.
Yeah, but I would also say in defense of everything that's just happened, the interpretation of the rule literally was like an inch in real time. So I don't think he stepped on the plate, but man, it was really close. And if he did, then it was interpreted correctly.
And there's communication among these four and communication with a replay center in Birmingham, collaborative replay, even though this play is not reviewable. Yet it's been 13 minutes to decide exactly how that play should have been ruled upon. And this, my guess here, with Paul Gillier otherwise occupied, as you can imagine, my guess here, this is tied into the protocol of the protest itself. And I'm just assuming that the ruling on the steal of home has already been adjudicated and they're done with that, and they're moving on to the technicalities. I bet Hayden Travinsky knows the rule.
Did you know that rule?
I did not know that rule.
I had to look it up the other day.
Because you saw it.
It happened. Yeah, I mean, something very similar happened.
Chris, what's going on in the LSU dugout?
So as you guys said, they are issuing a protest, but what they're asking the umps now is, can you tell me that with your eyes you saw him touch the plate or be in front of the plate? Because it's obviously not challengeable or reviewable. They want confirmation that they saw that on that play.
So the challenge will occur as soon as the ball is put in play. That's what Nate Yeske wants from his pitcher, Griffin Herring.
They're going to appeal.
Yes, appeal. Sorry, chat, wrong word.
Appeal here. I don't know what you appeal, because it's not like nobody left early.
And on the appeal, they're going to try to steal third.
Wow.
What a heads-up play.
Yeah.
Nate Yeske just warned them about it. They had talked about the appeal. He pointed out at Messina and made a running motion as if, watch out, he might steal it.
So this is the ball in play. It is a live ball. There's no limit to what Cole Messina can do here.
There's no limit to what's going to happen next either.
This was what got us into this mess. Was not on or in front of the plate by our looks before he received the ball, which would make it a legal defensive play for LSU.
Did he touch the plate, I guess, is what they're appealing. He never touched the plate.
That is fair.
Blake Jackson never took, but it's a balk. So it doesn't matter, right?
No, if it's
We may get an explanation as after it's explained to each head coach. You don't have his right foot anywhere on the base on any of the replays we saw?
no.
But now it's about the runner.
Now we got another
the runner
interesting
didn't touch
one,
the plate.
because even though it's a balk, you still have to touch home plate at some point in order for it to be a run.
Yeah, Blake, they're now appealing whether he ever touched home, which he didn't.
Whoever in that LSU dugout said
appeal that
or challenged that he didn't touch
yeah.
home plate. Paul, where are you at? May need you again.
Paul's putting out fires.
I mean, it's fair. He didn't touch home.
It's absolutely fair.
And that is reviewable. Now, if I were Mark Kingston, because LSU got technical with it, I would say, well, technically you have to challenge within a certain amount of time. And because the time to challenge elapsed, they will be unable to challenge whether or not Blake Jackson hit the plate.
There's no way you can. I mean, you can't come up with that in a matter of 30 seconds to figure out you're going to challenge it. That's right. I mean, you're limited a certain amount of time to challenge. And oh, by the way, Cole Messina is still standing at third base.
Yep.
Hey, guess what? We're going to play.
Yeah,
Here we go.
If you went to pour yourself another drink and it took you 18 minutes, you didn't miss anything.